September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and comes at an interval when here in Washington state, the rate of people making the decision to take their own life is growing at a rate of about 2.5% annually since 2006.
Our state is actually one of the leaders in suicide prevention, which most people don't realize, that we are one of the first states that enacted mandatory trainings for physicians and medical providers, as well as mental health providers, so that they would understand and know what to do.
Dr. Julie Rickard is program director at the new Parkside Crisis Stabilization Center in Wenatchee and a founding member of the Suicide Prevention Coalition of North Central Washington, which was established in 2012 after an alarming 30 deaths by suicide occurred locally.
Since that time, we've trained probably 10,000 people in suicide prevention. I think we continue to try to train because I think those are skills that move away from us when it's out of our normal day-to-day. But I think it's something that we need to be aware of because it's the people that are around us that are most at risk.
Dr. Rickard says there are many misnomers surrounding the subject of suicide and talked about what she believes might be the biggest one of all.
The myth with suicide prevention is that suicide is not preventable and that there's nothing that people can do, but the rates that we've shown through the prevention efforts of the coalition have been really noted in terms of watching when we did lots of advertisement and lots of outreach. What you'd see is the following year that the rates would be lower. On the years that we lost funding and we weren't able to kind of get to where we needed to go for the high-risk populations, what we saw is the rates went up because people didn't know how to access help. Nationwide, I think this is about a lack of access to help at the time that people need it. So part of what you're going to see implemented across the board in our state is integrating mental health with medical services because it helps people get access no matter what door they come in, which helps them kind of understand what might be happening, and then the next thing would be the services that they need to get attached to.
Very often there are significant life-impacting events or circumstances associated with those who contemplate or attempt suicide, and Dr. Rickard says the creation of an awareness that hope exists and treatment is available are paramount to helping these individuals.
And maybe it's I'm going to be homeless, and this is the worst thing I've ever faced. But if you look at many people that have faced that, they've come out the other side and come to a bigger, better house in the future, but they can't see it in that moment. And so their family might try to support them, and they think this is it, the shame, I've let my family down, I'm the family supporter, and because of that, I'll never dig out of this hole. But what we know by looking at people's trajectory is that they do dig out of it, and that their worst as a kid is different when they're in their 20s and then in their 30s. I mean, we face different life issues, but the problem is we're all not set up for every life issue we face. And what we see is thinking about suicide isn't abnormal, right? I think people think, oh, I'm having a suicidal thought. And many people come to me and they say, I'm so scared I'm having these thoughts. It makes me, am I crazy? And the truth is no one's crazy. What it tells me is there's some problem you're facing that you don't know how to solve it. And if we can help you with the solution, what we know is that you'll probably never go on to attempt.
In general, Dr. Rickard says there are numerous behavioral indicators that a person might be suicidal, including depression, shame, and a sense of hopelessness or being burdensome, and also conveyed the importance of not ignoring any of the more directed clues either.
Direct clues are, I want to hurt myself, I just wish I wasn't here, I want to run away. So there's lots of ways that people verbally communicate it. The problem is that when we hear that, we go, oh, they didn't mean it like that. And then we twist it in our head to say, well, someone else will help them. I think it's not that big of a deal. And part of it is we just socially have to get into the norm of saying whenever someone makes a comment about thinking about death, thinking about wanting to give up, that we are calling them to the carpet and just knowing that as a culture, we have to shift that if we're going to save these individuals.
Suicide does not favor any one race, age, gender, or other social category, but does often involve substance abuse as a relevant factor, a fact which is backed up by a number of celebrities that seem to have everything going for them who have still succumbed in recent times to its darkness.
There are classes that are at higher risk for various reasons, but the truth is that it's a multifactorial problem, and Anthony Bourdain is in his an example of someone who for many, many years struggled with his own drug addiction. He struggled with mental health issues, and because of that, at some point he succumbed to the issues around that surrounded him. And I don't know the factors around that, but I think it's not an easy thing for someone. Your brain is designed to keep you alive, and the majority of people locally that have died with a chemical on board. And what we know is if that chemical wouldn't have been on board, they would have probably made a separate choice.
Aside from public awareness and an access to mental health services, Dr. Rickert indicates that the most important element in the tangible prevention of suicide is precluding the obtainment of whatever means might be utilized for a person to take their own life, including firearms and potentially lethal pharmaceuticals in the household.
The number one thing that we can do to prevent suicide is getting rid of the means that are available to people that might be depressed in a home or people that are under the age of 24. So we know that youth are dying at a rate that is higher than they should be. Our youngest suicide locally was an 8-year-old. So when we look at that, and I think an 8-year-old died, they died because they had the means available to them.
For more information about the Suicide Prevention Coalition of North Central Washington, you can go to their website at spcncw.com. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255. Reporting for iFiber One News, I'm Chris Hansen.